From the gridiron to the diamond, this is more than X's and O's. This is your best Florida sports podcast with CBS 12 News sports director John Evenson, producer extraordinaire Sam Sullivan, and Max Shepman with the lighter side of sports.
Welcome into a new episode of Best Florida Sports Podcast, and it's been a few months since the Miami Dolphins have played some football, but that is the big talk this week.
No. The big talk is how yesterday I saw you without a beard, and then I see you today and you got a full beard, dude.
It is very nicely trimmed.
How fast can he grow his beard?
Thank you.
Is that an overnight thing?
This is a 2-week thing.
No, you did not have a beard yesterday.
Gingers do grow out their hair more.
Whoa. Let's clear it out. Strawberry blonde. Everybody out there who listens knows me. You know the deal.
I didn't say it.
But the big thing this week, of course, the Miami Dolphins GM Chris Grier announcing they are going to look for trade suitors for Jalen Ramsey, the second best player on that team, the star of their defense. Yeah, let's move on from him. And his exact words were, "It is best for both sides to move on in order for the Miami Dolphins to win now." Your thoughts?
It smells wrong. I mean, you see him come in for his pre-draft press conference. Everyone's ready to... This had started brewing in the news, reports had come out that this was the case earlier in the morning. I would even wager a guess, maybe even leaked by the Dolphins themselves. Of course, who knows? But because his first order of business when he walked in there was to get this off his chest and to make clear that this was his idea. Jalen Ramsey did not request a trade. Yep. And that all the reporters there are just supposed to see this as logic that, the guy who we, gave all this money to last year, suddenly we don't feel like he's part of our plans anymore. And we've decided to shop him around, even though he's completely devalued now by me announcing this. Yeah. And it's, oh yeah, I'm here for the draft press conference, which is in less than a week. So none of it makes any sense, except it kind of does, because I have a theory on why it's happening, but I don't want to hog this whole forum.
No, I'm going to assume that your theory is probably a little better than probably what I was going to say. So go ahead. Let's hear the theory first.
Well, I mean, it's very simple. It's not too complex a theory. I mean, we've seen Teron Armstead retire, and he's a competitive guy. Sure, he's up there. He's at that age, right? We've seen Calais Campbell move on, who was a great leader. All these leaders. Tyreek Hill, after the last game, pronounced, "I don't want to be here anymore," and he's been trolling everyone with the trade talks all off season. Yep. And now Grier steps up and out of nowhere says that they're going to try to trade their second best player, Jalen Ramsey. One can only assume that this is, these are the four guys who are leaving. They're and that Tyreek, part of him probably is being truthful.
So theoretically, you are.
I think Jalen Ramsey has similar opinions of these guys. They don't. I think he feels worried about where this team is going, and him and his agent are probably, if not totally responsible, but partly responsible for wanting this trade done by Chris Grier. And Grier's trying to save face and make it his idea and not make panic ensue throughout the organization.
So you would think that Chris Grier finds it better for him to say he wants to trade Ramsey rather than coming out and saying Ramsey wants a trade?
It's silly. No, it seems like he's lost control of the organization if all these guys are going the other direction. And but I think it's the better of two evils. If he had come and said that Jalen's demanded a trade, I think maybe in his eyes that doesn't look as good. So he's controlling the narrative. They've got the draft coming up. He could come out smelling like roses after an awesome draft, and this will be kind of, partly in his eyes, maybe partly forgotten. But Dolphin fans have been kind of taking their beatings lately, all off season, and this is just another, indication that, he said it's not a rebuild. Do you agree that this does not feel like He said this is not a rebuild when asked if this is a soft rebuild.
Well, Sam, you kind of brought it up, and like his quote was like, "It's the best thing for the Miami Dolphins to win now and later," which I feel like is the biggest load of crap of all time. Because yes, Jalen Ramsey is not in his prime. We all know that. But he's still a good shutdown defender. You can put him on a number one out there. Sure, absolutely. And you look at their secondary now, you're going to put your faith in Artie Burns, who was, let's just call it how it is, a first-round bust.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, he's been in the league a couple years, but like, you know, when the Steelers drafted him, he was supposed to be a great cornerback for Miami. But
before you move on,
what advantage is there to trading
before you
Ramsey?
continue your thought, let me tell you the current cornerbacks.
There is none.
Just cornerbacks on the Miami Dolphins, not safeties. Storm Duck, Ethan Bonner, Kader Kohu, as you mentioned, Artie Burns, and Cam Smith, who is a backup.
Let's be honest. We've covered this team just based off list. If you were to close your eyes and you listed those names off right there, would anybody in America would feel comfortable putting any of those guys out there as a CB1?
I don't know if the majority of America could pick out their number on the football field.
Right. So I think what Chris Grier said was a load of crap. I don't believe this is in the best interest of the Miami Dolphins. I don't think this is the best interest for the organization trying to win now in the future. So I think what also catches you off guard is like, okay, like this kind of came out of nowhere. And the Dolphins have dealt with a lot of drama this offseason alone. Obviously, like Tyreek entering it. Tyreek had a domestic thing a couple weeks ago. Like, he can't stay out of the news. And now, like, you're another big thing that you're going to throw out is like, hey, we're going to trade our, like you said, the second biggest player. And when you look at free agency in the whole, it's like they have done nothing in free agency. Like, I'm sure like you could have made a decent contract offer to Calais Campbell for him to stick around. Yep. Like I don't.
Daniels was the big splash,
right? So like okay, sure. I know they do need offensive line help, but like you also need to build around your team as well.
Yep.
And when you're losing an All-Pro cornerback, again, he's not in his prime, but he has the credentials of All-Pro. You're really lessening that roster, and obviously you're supposed to build it up. So none of this makes sense to me.
Again,
I think it is a rebuild, John. I think Chris Grier is going to try to save face for the guys like, yo, this team, and maybe we talked about it in the first episode, a couple episodes, maybe Deshaun Elliott's right. Maybe the Dolphins are just soft and players are catching on. It's like, you know what, this is BS and I'm getting at it.
Yeah, it's not a good sign when those guys who I mentioned, all of them are walking away in different shapes, way, shapes, and forms. And that's a trend, you know, and my gosh, the one guy, and then they're going to keep her. Imagine they don't trade Ramsey. Imagine they cannot come up with an acceptable trade. And he comes back. How brutal is that going to be in training camp? I don't know, his character alone, like he'll either hold out or just be a disruption because he's a very strong personality.
Well, real quick, if you're Chris Grier and you want to make this happen, what do you think you could get for a Jalen Ramsey?
I mean,
third?
The Dolphins are at least looking for a third-round pick. I mean,
what he's worth in any circumstance.
Back in September, signed a 3-year, $72.3 million extension. Played all 17 games last year. This was the first year since he was a rookie that he missed the Pro Bowl, so it's one down year. I think they deserve a third-round pick out of him, but if you're the one initiating the trade, like you said, you've just made it that much harder for the Dolphins to get something out of Jalen Ramsey. And he's already guaranteed $24.3 million this year. He's a $16+ million cap. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions to answer. And they need help at corner. But
well, they definitely go corner first round here. Third
for sure. I mean,
pick.
they've got within the first 5 rounds.
They needed one already.
Within the first 5 rounds, they've got pick 13, 48, 98, 116, 135, 150, 155.
I mean, I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have Will Johnson from Michigan going to the Dolphins.
Yep, Trey Amos, Mississippi.
Right. So like,
suddenly it's a priority to get quarterbacks, but you also need wide receivers, offensive line. Why would you put yourself in a position to all of a sudden have it be a priority for a cornerback when you've got one of the best cornerbacks already?
Unless they try to like swing like one of those like player for player trades, like we're giving up Jalen Ramsey for I don't even know like who's on the trade market for like offensive line help or like whatever.
I mean, in terms of cornerback, it's Jair Alexander. He's the only other person that's really on the trade block.
I mean, are you really going to go? I don't know.
They're both around the same age. He's 30. Jalen Ramsey's 30.
So this is why
Alexander's late
all
20s.
this conversation we're having right now is and this wondering and this doesn't make sense and what could they possibly do here. It's just more proof that this could not have been something that Chris Grier decided to do.
Yeah.
Because why would you want this problem?
And especially a week before the draft.
Yeah.
A week before the draft that this comes out, and the
and
quotes
to announce it.
Well, and the quotes that oh, these talks have been in discussion for weeks. Really? Because I feel like that would be a big reporter like Adam Schefter,
Yes.
hey, just a heads up, Dolphins are thinking about trading Jalen Ramsey. I'm taking everything that Chris Grier is saying with a grain of salt, which is crazy because I remember a few weeks ago we were on the pod saying Chris Grier is going to have to be a creative dude. He's known to do creative moves, but honestly, if you ask me, I think he is losing this franchise.
Well, John, we were talking about the draft, and you've got some draft perspective, which is we're taping this on Wednesday, 8 days from now. What do you got for us?
Oh, I mean, I spoke. Well, let's throw to Turtle first. We got to speak with Jerry Ferrara. I don't even remember when that was. It was before the Super Bowl. Before they were headed to the Super Bowl, him and Matt Leinart.
Ask him about the Fukijamas.
The Fukijamas, which make a cameo appearance in my upcoming interview with Jerry Ferrara. And he's headed to the draft now next week with his show Throwbacks, as well as the Triple Option podcast. So I had a chance to talk to Jerry from his beautiful home. I'm guessing, where's that? In the Hollywood Hills? He must live in Hollywood, right? I never asked him.
We'll see if this interview tells us.
Yeah, it looks like a Hollywood set. We are joined now by Jerry Ferrara, Hollywood star / sports podcaster. He and Matt Leinart, the former Heisman Trophy winner, they come together and do Throwbacks, one of the best podcasts out there. If you haven't listened to it yet, you should. And Jerry, we last spoke to you when you were about to head to the Super Bowl for a big red carpet affair. Now, next week, the months just fly by. Next week, you're heading to the Nissan NFL Draft House in Green Bay. How excited are you for just 3 days of excitement there?
I'm very fired up. And you know what? Some are saying you're the Throwbacks good luck charm because we talked to you, then we went to the live show in Vegas, not in Vegas, in New Orleans, and that worked out really well. And now we're going to the draft house in Green Bay. I'm fired up because I've never been to a draft, and it used to always be in Radio City and growing up in New York. I always wanted to go, and now I'm getting that opportunity through this show while we do a bunch of live shows down there at the draft house in Green Bay. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, there's no other professional sport where, a lot of people say that the NFL draft is their second most favorite event, NFL event besides the Super Bowl. It really is amazing. All 3 days, not just the Thursday, every pick just seems, really relevant and fun. What is it? What do you think it is about the NFL draft that makes it so compelling and so exciting to watch and now for you to be a part of?
I think it's almost like a great reality TV show because part one of the NFL draft is you're watching all these young players' lives change, right? Lifelong dreams that they've probably hoped for since they were little kids being met. And who doesn't love to watch that? So you're seeing all that. And then when you get into the hardcore fan element, you're almost getting this rebirth, this chance to change your fortunes. If you're a team like my New York Giants picking at 3, you could potentially be drafting a player that could change your team's fortunes for the next 5 or 10 years. And I think that for pretty much every team in the NFL except for 4 or 5 is a very exciting proposition. So that to me is what makes the draft just some of the best reality television we have.
Yeah, down here, of course, South Florida, we've got our eyes on the Miami Dolphins, but we also have our eyes on Cam Ward, who more than likely will be going first overall to Tennessee. Do you think Cam Ward, I don't know how many Canes games you've been able to really evaluate the tape and stuff, but do you think he's going to live up to the hype? He seems just NFL ready to go. Speaking of a franchise changer.
So, yeah, it's funny. When your favorite NFL team doesn't have a quarterback, you find yourself watching a lot of college football games you might not have been watching. Yes, I've watched a lot of Cam Ward this year. It's someone that I asked Leinart about pretty early on because he covers college football so well, and he was a quarterback, and it was always Cam Ward to him, I think, as the guy that's probably going to go at the top. And I was hoping the Giants had the number 1 pick for a week there until they won a game versus the Colts that they didn't need to win. So I did allow myself to imagine Cam Ward in Giants blue. And I don't think that's obviously going to happen. But yes, he looks like the real deal. I wish him nothing but luck. And yeah, I wish the Giants had a swing at it, but they're not. So.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, Dolphins fans down here, man, it's just been a crazy offseason, like losing. Now today it's Jalen Ramsey's going to get traded, hopefully from our draft picks. But right now, as it stands, 10 draft picks for the Dolphins. Is that, in your estimation, is 10 draft picks, is that enough to give the fans a little bit more? Like, can you almost like take a turn with a team with, it's the draft, but they're young players coming in. But could 10 draft picks, could that do something different for your franchise to give us a brighter future here right off the bat?
Look, I think so. In my opinion, drafting and picking the right players is so hard. We've seen a lot of teams get it right. We've seen more teams get it wrong. So I think the more bites at the apple that you get is inherently just better. And yeah, I think when you're a team like the Dolphins who, spends some money and you could get some younger players on rookie contracts who could maybe make an impact right away, that could definitely change your fortunes quickly. Yeah, I would take 15 draft picks if I could. I love the draft, number one. But yeah, I think as many attempts as you could get to get it right is important. And I think a team like the Dolphins, I do think getting some younger players in there on rookie contracts, who knows if all 10 actually make it to the team and if there's players traded away. But yeah, I think it's a great thing for a franchise that's trying to get to that next level.
I can't stop looking at the shoe back there, man. I mean, I see the turtle. Now tell me about it. This is the shoe we talked about last time. That was on Entourage, right?
Yes, this is the shoe that my character Turtle waited online for back before you would do drops just online and, log into your computer to try to get a shoe. You just have to go camp out like it was a movie to get your spot in line. And of course I kept them. Everyone always asks if I have them. So I just put them on display now so you can stop asking.
Did you wear them? Did you wear them to, we talked, you were thinking about perhaps wearing them to the Super Bowl activity.
I chickened out.
Yeah.
I totally chickened out.
I don't blame you.
I more so didn't want to bring them on the plane. And I'm thinking about like New Orleans. It's a big city, but it's still close together. I don't want people stepping on my shoes at the Fanatics party.
Well, that's a good so the draft plan, your draft plan, Green Bay. First of all, what a unique football location Green Bay is. What are you looking forward to the most? You're joining the triple option guys there as well, right?
Yeah, that's going to be really cool for me. So, obviously Matt and I do throwbacks and we talk a lot of college football in season, a lot of NFL football, get a good perspective from him. And then, I think triple option to me, when you really want to get in depth with college football analysis, but also with people who've done it at the highest level, you got Coach Urban Meyer, Heisman winner Mark Ingram, Rob Stone from Big. It's just a great show. So we're crossing over both shows. We'll be doing live shows both Thursday and Friday from the Draft House. So my responsibility, I stick out there like, what is this guy going to say? This actor dude. Hey, listen, I've been watching football since I'm 8 years old. I am bringing the fan perspective to all this. You want the X's and O's? Coach Urban Meyer's right there for you. You want to know how to throw a tighter spiral? We got Leinart. You want to know how to read what gap to go through as a running back? You got Ingram. If you want to know why the Giants traded out of number 3, you got me. I'm going to be over there screaming why did they trade out of 3, which they're not going to do, Giant fans. I know there's maybe a few listening. New Yorkers love Florida, so.
Yeah, and that's I think that's the best. You have a good role because, the common fan likes to have people who know exactly how they're feeling with these different ups and downs of their teams and stuff like that, and people relate to you because your character was in many ways so relatable on Entourage. How many people? Do you ever get sick? It's such a great role, and people just can't help but just want to talk to you about it. But does it ever get too much where, I'm doing a podcast now, or there are other roles that I've done, or do you just embrace the turtle character?
I've always embraced it because one, I always say so should I have turned the part down? I was 23 years old and you don't know what's going to stick and what's going to work. And let's face facts too, all these years later, and I have done a lot of other great roles in Power and Think Like a Man, but we're here because of that show, right? It's part of my career. I'm very, very proud of it. So, I give what I get to. I'm happy to talk about it, and it's really fun to go back down memory lane, and I'm very proud of it. And like I always tell people, if you're cool, I'm cool. If you're cool in the approach, I'll play along. I'll talk to you about it as much as you want.
Yep, just don't step on the shoes. Well,
Don't
yeah.
step on the shoes. Exactly.
That's the main rule. All right. Well, what do you think you guys are going to be talking about next week? Does it get zany? I mean, you got a feel for it with Leinart at the Super Bowl parties. Does it get a little bit off the rails compared to your normal show, or what are you expecting?
Well, those guys know each other so well. So the camaraderie between Matt, Mark, Rob, and Irv, because they do Big Noon on Saturdays. So their camaraderie is so good. I'm going to try to stir the pot a little bit. I love it. And also Leinart, I'm going to want him to go down that road of, let's go back to the night you were drafted. What was your draft night like in New York City? And Mark Ingram, we're going to tell some of those stories and get some insight about what a player goes through, and then even what a coach goes through on draft night, And let's face it, every fan thinks they could draft better than their current GM.
Yep.
Let's be honest. We all think we could do the job better, which we can't.
That's why I love you and Leinart. You guys are buddies. You get the best out of each other, and it's really, really great to hear you guys just sort of have a conversation. You as the sports fan, him as the former player, now sports fan. So, no, thank you so much for joining us for a few minutes here, and we can't wait to hear you guys at the Nissan Draft House in Green Bay during NFL Draft Week. Safe travels, buddy.
You're our Throwbacks live show good luck charm. It's official.
I love it. Jerry's such a great guy for doing that. And Throwbacks is a great podcast. I don't know if you guys have listened to it. That perspective I was talking about, the former quarterback and the Hollywood actor who's like the everyday fan. So you could listen to Throwbacks on Apple, Spotify, watch it on YouTube. Triple Option is going to be down there as well at the draft. So that's going to be
up there, Evanson. Up there.
Oh, yeah. I keep going back to my days. Here's my Canadian reference.
Oh, boy.
When I lived in Toronto.
He's got one a week.
I would say everything was down there. So yeah, I got to do one a week. The Simpsons, actually, fun fact, because Matt Groening is Canadian. He puts in
sounds like a Canadian last name.
Yeah. He puts in one Canadian reference per Simpsons episode. There's one hidden thing that you can look out for, and I usually recognize them. So that's my thing. I'm going to do one Canadian.
So you're doing the Simpsons.
What's that?
You're doing the Simpsons thing for
one
for
Canadian
us.
reference per podcast. Yeah.
Next thing you know, we'll just have the Canadian flag behind us.
Yeah, well,
that'd be too obvious.
Speaking of Canada, it's Canada's favorite time of year. It's my personal favorite time of the year.
It is amazing to me. Speaking of that, I'll just keep going on this me growing up in Canada thing. But how many I would never have imagined. First of all, living in South Florida, I've been here 12 years. How many passionate hockey fans there are down here. And I'm not just talking about Panthers fans who go to the games, and we've seen just how amazing that atmosphere is down there, but just in the newsroom, it makes me so happy to see, like, you've got your like you guys yesterday, the Rangers fans were talking about how they beat the Panthers in that meaningless game that you guys were so happy about because you've had a crappy season. The Rangers
coming in hot,
they were all talking in the corner, and you just everyone, there's just way more. You're a huge you grew up a Penguins fan, Max did, but I think we all agree that we get excited about the Florida Panthers, especially because we got to cover them last year and all the way to the parade. So here we go again, boys.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting series, but it's a very familiar series. I mean, they faced them in the playoffs. Last year, round one, they beat them 4-1. They were swept in round two back in 2022. They lost 4-2 in round one back in 2021. So this is not an unfamiliar foe that they're facing.
Well, the interesting part of that, too, is the winner of this round between these two teams have reached the Stanley Cup final.
Wait, repeat that fact?
The winner of this series, when these two teams play in the playoffs in the past 4 years,
I see. Yes,
this series has at least reached the Stanley Cup final.
At least. It's crazy to think about. Right. Like they've reached the Mecca.
Yes. It is actually kind of a nightmare first round opponent. I mean, any first round opponent in the Stanley Cup playoffs is a tough one because, if you got there, you're either a really good team or you finished your season on a high and you made it, like you just made it. So it's like that combination of the hot now and just awesome overall. But to play the Lightning, the biggest rival, Battle of Florida, and the Panthers know that, as they're coming off their Stanley Cup victory, but even more so, the Lightning and their coach, John Cooper, they have so much playoff pedigree, and they are way more hungry for it than the Panthers are.
Well, they're
because
probably
they
still
haven't
pissed
had
from last year.
Yeah, they haven't. They're not the Florida team anymore. The Panthers are.
Yeah.
They took over their reign.
Which seems to me.
Go ahead.
Which seems to me like an issue for the Panthers, that they decided to kind of play, reserved both on Monday and Tuesday night, Rangers and Lightning, which kind of lost them the opportunity to get home ice to start off this round one series, which you're almost like we were talking about it yesterday. You're almost accepting that loser approach before you go into round one. And to me, that's not a good recipe if you want to succeed.
I worry about those losing habits.
Well,
because, Paul Maurice was like, don't worry about it. Like, I don't do a good Paul Maurice. Let me try. It was like we put these guys in a tough position here. I can't do it. I tried with the Canadian accent. I don't know. It was Alberta sort of thing.
Terrible.
Anyway, so he does not sound like that, by the way. That was a horrible impression.
Paul Maurice is at his doorbell right now.
But he's a genius, and which is why I can't. It's hard to disagree with because he's an absolute genius. But he was saying, this team has been through. These players have been through a lot over the past.
They've played a lot of hockey.
A lot of hockey. Got to get the rest in this and that. So I think he chose that over what you're talking about, which is wins to try to get them home ice advantage. I hope it's. I think at this point they're as comfortable playing in Tampa Bay as they are in Florida. But the thing that my point was, losing habits. Like you've gone a week and a half here playing these type of games that don't mean anything and doing the rest and all that stuff. Then you got to kick back into being the full throttle Panthers, hopefully with Matthew Tkachuk. That's going to be, I see that as a little bit of a challenge sometimes.
They had an opportunity to take the seed, the one seed in their division, but they ultimately lost 7 of their last 10.
Correct.
And it kind of just all fell apart.
Yes.
And I felt like, just to assume Paul Maurice's perspective was, okay, now that we can't get the 1 seed in our division, let's just focus on being healthy for the playoffs, because at least that's a guarantee.
Yeah, and I understand both sides of the argument. Like, you don't want to develop bad habits, fine, whatever. But I'm also on the fact of with Evenson is like, this team has played a lot of hockey over the past 3 years.
No one's played more.
So I'm okay with resting Barkov, Reinhart, whoever. Like, I'm all good for that, because I think the healthier that they are, the better. Obviously, that's cliche. And, this Tampa team's a little bit different than last year. I mean, you obviously, they have Jake Gensel now, who's a prolific scorer in the playoffs, known to score some goals in the playoffs. So that's like a whole new thing that they have to prepare for. Obviously, Kucherov's on a monster pace. I think he had 121 points this year. I mean, the guy's a point machine.
Yeah.
So
it's Tampa Bay 2.0.
I just think personally, and this is probably going to be a hot take here, I just think that the Panthers have run out of gas, even to end the regular season. And I know we're going through predictions here pretty early, but I just don't see them beating Tampa this year.
Interesting.
I think Vasi is going to be better.
Get that opinion out of here.
I think Vasi.
I wrote that down on the piece of paper, by the way.
Touche.
Yeah, I guessed his hot take.
Oh, that actually wasn't my hottest take of the day. I just think
that Zoom was going to crash? Was that your hottest take?
No. I think Vasi's going to step up. He's known to play great in the playoffs. Didn't have a great playoff last year, obviously. So I just think personally, I think the Vamos Gatos are just running out of gas, because again, it's a lot of hockey, and who can blame them? That is a lot. Plus the Four Nations tournament, those guys are playing in.
You bring up the Four Nations. The one guy who is looking to rev up the engine and get that gas back is Matthew Tkachuk.
Right.
And Paul Maurice has come out and said
he's not that far off.
He's not far off from a return. He will return with the team this week, practice with them. And since that Four Nations tournament, the Panthers have been 14-11 without him.
He's going to return game 1. Game
so.
one.
Game one, which is
Game
slated
one.
for Saturday, correct?
It's not slated for Saturday, but that's a guess. But we were talking the Lightning play on Thursday.
They end their
so they
season
don't want those Thursday teams who have played the last game on Thursday to have that
So it could
short of
be
a
either a
turnaround.
Sunday,
could
Monday.
be Sunday.
I
Yeah, so we'll
theoretically
see.
would say it would be a Monday.
Monday game.
Because
I don't think the first game would be on a Monday though,
Well,
unless
no,
they wanted it
but
in
what I'm
prime
saying,
time.
no, but what I'm saying is for the Vamos Gatos is they would play on Monday. I think, and this is my theory, is that the first game of the Stanley Cup playoffs is going to be Dallas, Colorado.
Okay.
Because that is, everybody has their opinion on the playoff seeding, go back to 1-8, whatever. But you look at it, Dallas, Colorado, theoretically is your Western Conference final.
Which drives me crazy.
So why not start the playoffs with that banger?
Right.
Because let's be honest, the East is weak, dude. And my hot take, the one that I was going to tell you about, I think the Capitals, who, let's be honest, like I don't really think they're a great hockey team.
Capitals are going to win the cup?
I think they're going to get. I think they're going. If the standings hold up, they are. Montreal needs to clinch at least a point against the Hurricanes tonight. If they do, they're in.
Mm-hmm.
I think Montreal beats Washington in the first round series because I feel like ever since Ovi has hit the record.
Wait, did you just? Okay, so I'm confused about your take.
Go ahead.
So you think that the Caps are going to get knocked out in the first round?
In the first round, yep.
Oh, okay, I can buy that.
Because
Yeah.
I just think that they've let off the gas since Ovi's hit the goal record.
Yeah.
I think this season has been nothing but about Ovi getting the goal record. I don't think they're that great of a team. Sure, they got 100 points in the standings, but you look at the East is not great.
Right.
So
And Montreal's got that weird.
I mean,
kind of
you
like,
look at their players. They got Suzuki. They
Yeah,
got
they
Caulfield.
they got hard.
Lane
and they
Hudson.
really grind it.
Lane
Yeah.
Hudson, who's probably going to win the Calder.
Yeah.
So that's my hot take. I think Montreal beats Washington in the first
You
round.
want all those Habs sweaters down and Sunrise when they're taking on would that be the Eastern Conference final? If it would it be Habs Panthers? Could that happen?
Imagine Canada taking over Amarin Bank Arena.
Quebec.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That
But yeah,
that was
yeah,
the battle
I-
last year's final.
Yeah, I think Washington's going to get beat in the first round. It's
All
just a
right.
feeling.
Dude,
I don't trust Logan Thompson
To
in
me-
goal. I mean,
To me, that's not as that's a good take, but that's not as hot a take as you thinking that the Panthers have run out of gas because for sure the Panthers, my goodness, they've been through the rigor. They played deep. They've had the 2 Stanley Cup runs in a row. They came into the season. They had to go to Helsinki at the beginning.
start the
You'll
year,
remember that, right? And then the 4 Nations and the condensed schedule. I think leading up to that there was. I sounded like Yoda there. Did you notice that?
No.
Condensed schedule there was.
Wow.
Anyway. But anyway, all
Better
that,
than Paul Maurice.
but Paul Maurice's theory that you brought up earlier, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he knows how to revitalize this team. And I don't care. When you get into the playoffs, there's a different thing that just clicks in your head where they've tasted it before too, like recently. And I think they know they just go into an unconscious state. Like you're not going to get more healthy in the playoffs, but I think Maurice is trying to get them in there as healthy as humanly possible to start. And then the Panthers know what to do from there.
Yeah, right.
Maurice
Well,
doesn't even have to tell them.
which is why like I'm good with sitting the big guys for the past couple games because you need that energy and those guys healthy to try to make another run.
It was a choice. That was a really good point from Sam. That he chose. There was a few things he had to choose. One was home ice, and he chose health.
Yeah, he'd rather have health. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see, I still have the Panthers obviously winning this series, but I can see them starting off slow. I could see this being 2-0 going back to Amarin Bank Arena.
Yeah.
In favor of the Lightning.
And then Kachuk, if I'm wrong about maybe he makes his return in Game 3.
Well, the good thing
and
about
that's the spark.
The good thing is Brad Marchand has been picking it up scoring-wise.
Yes.
So, obviously, you're going to need your key depth players to make a big impact role in a series. So, I think if you're looking for the Panthers' positive perspective, is like, hey, like the guy that we went out and got in the trade deadline, like he's starting to heat up at the perfect time because he knows all about Stanley Cup playoff hockey too. So
that goal in the
that's more
meaningless game,
experience.
their loss, the 5-3?
5-1?
5-1. That
Against
one
the
goal
Lightning.
was Marchand,
Right.
and that was such an important goal just to say, you know what, I'm back.
Yeah.
So hello, remember me? You hate me? You thought you hated me as a Bruin? Wait till you see me as a Panther. Lightning.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it is, it's funny how it works out where that last game of the season for the Panthers is against, the Lightning, who they're going to face. They kind of get comfortable and familiar, and it could be, a bit of a mind game where you throw them off in that way of, oh, we're not going to play, all the way and whatnot, and the Lightning, you give them that, that puffed up confidence, and
That might be part of it too.
It could swing all the way around for
You're
Florida.
thinking like my boy Paul Maurice. I think you're bang on, man. I think that's what he was thinking too. Who cares if I'll do my bad impression again.
Well, something a coach that I have no idea what he's thinking right now in this game tonight. We're going to talk about it very briefly because tonight, Wednesday night at 7:30, the Miami Heat fighting for a playoff spot against the Chicago
It's going to be
Bulls.
so depressing for
It's the
people
third
to
straight
hear.
year that
Yeah.
these teams have
That
met.
they're fighting for, yeah. So let's kind of go back in time. This is a rematch in the play-in game where they beat Chicago 102-91. Then they went on the most insane playoff run I think we've ever seen from an 8 seed. They upset 1 seed in Milwaukee. They beat Boston. They beat New York. Of course, they beat Boston in the conference finals. And then they lose to Denver 4-1, where they just look completely gassed out. Of course, it was Jimmy Butler.
Everybody's running out of gas.
Yeah, they definitely ran out of gas. But one guy who's not, Tyler Hero, completely just put the team on his shoulders. He
You
scored
could
at
be my
least
hero,
20 points
baby.
in the final 10 games of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this Miami Heat team is hoping for to go into the postseason, but they've got this game guaranteed in front of them.
No, and I think you gotta give obviously the Heat team a lot of credit. I mean, obviously they had that horrific 10-game losing streak.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, there could have been a lot of times where that team could have mailed it in.
Yes.
And the fact that they fought to even get back into the playoff game, or play-in game, excuse me.
Heat culture.
Is it back? Is it back now that Jimmy Buckets is gone? Is the culture back?
They win tonight. It's back.
Yep.
And then you'll be listening to that's so funny because let's not spend too much time on this because this has a shelf life of like 6 hours.
4 minutes.
But yeah, wouldn't it be so Miami Heat to win the 2 play-in games and squeak into the playoffs?
Yes.
And I think more than ever, a deep run is highly unlikely, in my opinion, just from we've seen from this team. But it would be a good sort of, I don't know, like, do fans want, I guess it would be cool to have maybe to make the playoffs and kind of stick it to Jimmy a little bit, say you did not totally ruin our season, Jimmy Butler. Meanwhile, he'll be...
Who just had the game of his life last
Yeah,
night.
he's
against
with...
Memphis, 37 points alongside Curry's 38.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking
He's
about
completely
Throwback
changed that
Thursday,
team.
dude?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's,
Jimmy Buckets reached a way back Wednesday.
I know. I'm looking at the 2022 playoff run for Miami, and every single score sheet it's Butler led in points, assists. There's no discredit to what he did for this Miami team, but what you see with the Warriors, and he said it, I am the Robin to Steph Curry. Steph Curry is Batman, and that's what the Heat had an issue establishing, is getting a player just as good, if not better than him, to team up, down in South Beach.
Well, and that was this big thing. Remember, it's like, dude, like, I need better players. And I kind of hated on Jimmy for that because, like, okay, like Tyler Hero and Bam, like,
those are all stars. Bam's
Right.
a 2-time Olympic, gold winner.
The Panthers saw the writing on the wall with that scenario. I mean, they had Barkov, but they didn't quite have the Robin for
Right.
Barkov. And, when they brought in Kachuk, that was problem solved right there. And then they were able to they had their Batman and Robin on the top, and they were able to just fill it up with
beneath it, yeah.
other superheroes, you know, like. Want to talk about the comics now?
I do not. But to wrap this up, they've got Chicago tonight. If they win, they go play the Orlando Magic to fight the 8 seed. If they win that, then they've got Cleveland. So
Wait, no,
I thought they played Atlanta.
It's not the Magic, it's the Hawks.
Oh, it's the Hawks.
Yeah, it would be the
so
Hawks.
they would play the Hawks.
Yeah.
They win that, then they face 1-seeded Cleveland.
Correct.
Where do you do your research, Sam?
JohnEvenson.com. So anyways, let's move on to what our biggest discussion was last week, the Masters. I mean, talk about a whirlwind of a tournament.
That was last week?
For so many, well, that was our big topic last week.
No. That just does not seem like a week ago to me. You're right. Last week at this time, I was sitting in that beautiful room at
Pimento
Augusta
cheese
National.
sandwiches.
Yep.
Thank God you didn't
missed
bring one
them.
back. But of course, I mean, talk about a whirlwind just for a lot of players, but of course for the winner. Rory McIlroy just to go up and down, and that career Grand Slams in the back of his mind, and I mean he pulled off just an insane final round.
I don't think
I'll be real with you. I definitely thought he was going to blow. The playoff putt was shorter than in regulation on 18. I definitely thought he was still going to blow that putt.
Oh, you thought he was going to blow the
playoff
putt? Oh, it was in people's heads. Yeah, I yelled across the newsroom.
I thought he was going to say yelled across the green at the
No, I was back at this point, and I yelled across the newsroom right as he was in his backswing for that for the winner.
for the
yelling during.
I yelled across to Andreas like he's going to miss this, and sure enough, and
we had completely opposite thoughts because when he went back on that, I said he's going to hit this and immediately drop to his knees. And right then and there, it just dropped to his knees and just all the emotions came out, hysterically crying, gets up, throws his hat.
What a moment! Can I just
Talk
say,
to the media now, Rory.
like
15
that
years as a pro.
final round was the best possible thing for golf. You're watching that. You couldn't help but watch it. Everyone was hyper aware of all of the failures he had trying to complete the career Grand Slam.
And not
over
even
the
in years
11
past, like that
Yeah.
round.
Yeah,
of
I know.
Like, oh, okay.
His reputation, everyone knew. Like that's why it was easy. I've heard other people say they called. He was going to miss that. Jack Nicklaus said on the broadcast after he called in, he said, "I told Barbara he was gonna miss that."
That's
And
great, Jack Nicklaus impersonation.
That's my the Paul Maurice or Jack Nicklaus impression. Which one's better? I don't
Probably Yoda.
Oh yeah, I forgot Yoda. Miss this next putt, he will.
See, that's a lot better.
Yeah. So anyway,
cry.
but I think everyone kind of through the ups and downs, on 50, what was it, on 13 when he went into the creek, everything that Rory went
That
through.
second shot on 15 from the second cut, just
He just roped it around the trees.
Yeah.
I just feel like we were all with him emotionally. Like, just even if you're not the biggest Rory fan, like it's hard just as a human. Like you saw it all, boom, boom, from that first hole where he double bogey. No, he bogeyed the first hole, right?
I believe.
And then
he had two double bogeys. I think,
He had four. He was the
four-
first champion to ever have four double
double
bogeys over his rounds. But anyway, I just feel like you felt the emotion. It was very human, like a very human thing to just know what he was going through. And then when he fell to his knees and cried, and then his press conference, he confirmed everything that we were feeling with him. He said, yeah, that whole.
he wanted to talk to us this time?
Who, Rory?
The media?
He was there. Yeah, he was there. He said, you saw off the top, that was
Yeah.
funny with like, what are we going to talk about next year? But he just confirmed that he was like had throw up in his mouth the entire freaking round. Like he was just like so
Right
nervous, so freaked out, hardest
Anxiety.
round ever. He had doubts, all the things that we had, he had, and that is so compelling, man. And just to see him win like that was the best. That was one of my favorite.
To be able to get
Masters.
the 3 championships within the first, 7-8 years of his pro career, became a pro in 2007, and then just from that point on, trying to get the Masters year after year after year. And yeah, I mean, it weighed on him, and you saw it in years past where he couldn't get the job done. He finally does there, and I mean, it was special. I think that. Of course, the Masters will always bring in a major audience, regardless of if you're a golf fan or not. But I think just that story alone, his backstory, brought in that many more people.
That had to have. Do you know the numbers on that? Did that break a TV? I'm sure
I
the
don't have the
Tiger
numbers.
years. The Tiger years.
I can try to do a quick Google search.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, okay, so we've been watching Rory play in other majors over the past few years, but don't you find like when Rory is leading or in the hunt at the U.S. Open, PGA Championship, or the British Open, or what they call the Open Championship now, it's kind of like a who cares if he wins this, right? You got
Sorry
the
about
numbers?
that. Per the
TV?
network, Sunday final round averaged 12.7 million followers or viewers, which is up 33% from 2024.
Oh, okay. So at least it was 33 more than last year. But now that he's won the Masters, completed the career Grand Slam, I feel like it's going to be more enjoyable watching other majors now, because it's kind of cool to have Rory McIlroy as someone like now it's kind of like it has more meaning because he's this iconic golfer, where before it's like, oh, we don't need another U.S. Open. We don't need. Oh, it's the Masters is the only thing we care about.
The peak for CBS apparently was obviously between 7 and 7:15. Was at 19.5 million viewers.
But people were tuning in for 60 minutes. That's why that happened. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Yeah, it was.
So thank you. Look at you. You're a quick Google searcher.
Hey, that's why I kind of missed the desk, dude. Just being able to little
type
quick
it all
Google.
in, yeah.
No, but good for Rory. Obviously, he's
Fantastic.
worked hard for it. I definitely think completing the Grand Slam obviously puts a bow on his career. No matter if he bombs the rest of the way.
Sixth golfer to do it.
He
Sixth.
The sixth.
Sixth golfer to do it. I definitely think he's up there as one of the greatest golfers of all time.
Do you think
obviously different golfers have more majors and whatever, but to complete the Grand Slam,
35 years old.
35 only?
Which
I know.
surprises me.
It's just insane how much golf he has left. I mean, Tiger, of course, has had his problems like with injuries and the car accident and all this stuff, but if Rory's able to stay relatively healthy, and my gosh, he's not even eligible to enter the PGA Tour Champions for 15 years. The guy can do so much.
Yeah.
Do you think that him winning it is a huge boost for the PGA Tour? I do, especially he was going up against Bryson, right? Like Bryson's the guy to watch.
Bryson bomb. We'll trademark that for the Sunday round. The Bryson bomb.
When he says, "What are we going to be talking about next year?" I think, what will they be talking about next year? My opinion is, I think if Bryson plays well, I think Bryson. DeChambeau,
you think that pressure moves from now that Rory's done it to Bryson?
I think Bryson needs to a green. How big will that green jacket's not going to fit if he were to win, right? I'd like to see him just rip it like the Hulk when they put it on.
I don't know if that'll happen, but I obviously.
But is that the topic next year, Bryson?
It's kind of tough to say. I will say that one topic that will be there, not saying that it'll be the top one, is can he do it again? Now that Rory got it, can he do it again, or will every year past this just be?
But think about how boring would that have been this year if we had been forced to talk about, Scottie Scheffler won another Masters.
I don't know, because then he's obviously it's nowhere near what Tiger was able to accomplish. But if you go back to back, you're obviously going to compare him to greats like Tiger.
So we'll start counting Masters
and third, and it would have been third in 4 years.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what if Rory what if Rory is now in position to complete the season what is it called when you win all the majors in one season?
That's just a Grand Slam.
The natural Grand Slam. The natural Grand Slam. That's what we.
Tiger wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, that'll be something else. So maybe he wins one or two more majors coming up this summer. And we can start counting up majors, and he starts getting into that territory where we get excited about him getting closer to Tiger.
Well, one thing Rory is excited about is that his purse was $4.2 million, 600,000.
I don't think he gives
not bad.
600,000. Well, no, but you'd still look forward to that at the end when you've done, celebrating with your friends and your family. You're like, oh, and I get this too.
That's exactly what he did. Oh, well, look at my bank account seems. Oh yeah, I won the Masters. Yeah. No, I don't even think the money's the furthest thing. All this guy wanted for 14 years was to win the Masters. That monkey on his back for 11 years. That's all he was thinking about. I think it's actually a funny little thing that he probably will just kind of remember a couple days later, like, oh yeah, I'm $4 million richer.
Yeah. So that's
feel
what we
free
got
to Venmo at Best Florida Sports Podcast.
Now we got to create a.
Definitely do not have a Venmo.
Everyone is creating that Venmo now. Race to create it.
Yeah. So next week we've got, of course, the NFL draft. We're going to have more on the Florida Panthers, where they are in their series.
They'll have already won it next week.
Like I mentioned, we'll see if we're talking about the Miami Heat, surprisingly in the playoffs or not. But Max, you've got some pretty special things going on with the draft next week.
Yeah, luckily we have a lot of connections down in South Florida. And obviously the big topic is going to be the quarterbacks, right?
Yes.
Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, those likes. So I went deep into the Rolodex for this one. So I called up.
I was in the office when you did this.
You were. You helped me give me the idea. But I called up a former friend of ours, former Cardinal Newman High School head coach Steve Walsh. Former Miami Hurricanes quarterback legend and former NFL quarterback. So we'll take a deep dive into what he thinks from each quarterback and who.
And a great guy.
And a great guy. He is a great guy.
Yeah, that's a part of his resume.
Absolutely.
All that.
I should have started it off with. I should have started
a
off.
Midwestern guy, because you think of him as being South Florida, but Max and I remembered because he was in Minnesota, right?
He's back at his hometown. Back in his hometown. So
Twin Cities, I think.
We'll talk NFL draft quarterbacks, see what these guys are all about, and get a quarterback's perspective to see if these guys can really be franchise changers.
You got to love it. Inside the mind. That is what we try to do, is get inside the mind. He has lived it. He's going to give it to us next week. Stay tuned. A lot to look forward to.
Salivation for the draft.
Get ready.
Best Florida Sports Podcast drops every Thursday morning. Listen on your favorite platform or watch on YouTube.